Hey boo, it's me Linwood, and today I'm going to be showing you how to properly clean your brushes, especially if you have scalp issues, things like that. So if you have itching, if you have problems with dandruff, seborrheic dermatitis, psoriasis, any type of scalp issue, it's really important. Honestly, it's important that you keep your brushes clean in general. But I'm going to show you the proper way to clean them to make sure that you're killing as much bacteria as possible so we can keep those brushes sanitary. For those who do not know, I'm a licensed cosmetologist and a cosmetology instructor. I teach this type of stuff for a living. So if you're interested in learning more about your hair and hair care in general, you should probably give me a subscribe, a follow, a like, whatever floats your boat. I have a tub of hot water here, and I have a litany of brushes down here. Now I realize he ain't got but a hoof of hair. I won't be explaining why in this video. If you want to see more, I'll put an eye in the top right corner. But these are the brushes that I have here. I realize that again, I don't have but a hoof of hair, but these are all the brushes that I'm going to clean today. I have so many more, and I'll be honest with you, I've got a multitude of brushes in this house, and some of these, though they're wave brushes, I use for slicking on my daughter's hair, things like that as well. So there's plenty of product in some of these. That being said, let's go ahead and go through the proper way to clean your brushes. So first, we want to start by removing all visible debris. That is technically cleaning, which, by the way, you see this lower part doesn't look too bad. As soon as I start removing, you see all that extra garbage that's caught in the bottom of the brush. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and go through there first. Who would have thought that that was hidden in the bottom of this brush? And there's still more stuff visible in here. So I want to begin by taking out everything that I can see in that brush. That way it's not impacting the disinfection process. Once I've removed as much as I can get from there, I'm gonna go ahead and set that brush to the side. We'll remove that lint and things. I'm probably gonna use that brush again later, but I'm gonna do the same thing to all my little brushes. My youngest daughter calls this the soft brush. And this one here, I use quite a bit for like slicking down and all that, which, by the way, if you have tender-headed kids, get you one of these soft little brushes like this. They're fantastic for laying down like edges and slicking, all that. Like, look at that. Yeah. From there, I'll just move on to the next. I'm gonna continue with some of these, like this. Ooh, there's all sorts of product in this one. I can feel it. And basically, I'm able to tell just based off of how easily the comb is going through there. Now what this is also helping to do is breaking up some of the product inside of those bristles. So when we actually do go through the washing process, we are able to, or the sanitation process, we are able to get as much of that product out as possible. Keep in mind, your brushes were not intended to last you for forever. So some of them are only gonna last you a year or two. Some of them will last you years upon years. You'll be able to tell which ones are my oldest ones in the mix. I've got some hair that's stuck at the base of this brush here. So what I like to do in instances like that is I will take a brush like this one and I'll just rub those together. It helps to loosen up product and hair at the base of those brushes so I can more easily get that out. Okay? There we go. I'm gonna be doing the same type of technique for my paddle brush like this here. Now you see all those little white dots? Those are areas where like lint and things are stuck around the base of those bristles. So again, using a firmer brush like this one here, or a nylon bristle brush, is going to be great. It allows you to loosen some of that up, and it loosens up not just on this brush, but it's going to help remove stuff from this one as well at the base. Because again, like, I don't want to add soap and water to this. The soap and water is to try to get some of that product and bacteria out of there. But if I'm wetting some of this hair, it makes it that much harder to get that hair out of the brush. So not as many little lint sections and things around there. That's a plus. I still see a little bit of hair in there. So let me remove that real quick. All right, once I get these done, I'll come back and talk to you some more. By the way, I was just cleaning this unbrush, and if you are not familiar with unbrushes, the nice thing about them is that they do have like a flexible back and all of that so you can work with them, but they don't hold any water inside of them. With these type of paddle brushes here, like you see that little hole right there, that allows air and all that to get in and out. The downside of that is that when you are soaking them to clean them, water gets inside, and water inside can potentially lead to bacteria, things like that, building inside of the brush. So just be careful, making sure that you are kind of turning around and squeezing all of your excess water out, possibly even putting this in like a heated little dryer or something like that, like one of the dryers for your head, to dry this a bit more, because it can hold a lot of bacteria and things on the inside. Just be careful with your paddle brushes. All right, I've got all my brushes cleaned and done in terms of like the hair and things out of the brushes. Hold on. I've got all the brushes done. This is everything that I got out of these brushes, I don't know if you can see the flakes and things, there's still plenty of ickiness inside of these brushes. So keep in mind, this is just the cleaning part, not the sanitation part. So I'm gonna move on into sanitation now, and then we'll move from sanitation into disinfection. Now, for those who do not know, this is something as a salon professional, it's supposed to be done after every single use of every single tool. You use this comb, it has to go through this process I'm showing y'all. You use a brush, it's got to go through this process I'm showing you. So if you don't see your stylist taking their dirties and putting them in a dirty container, this is not being done correctly. If you see them taking this, putting it in your head, and then directly putting it in that blue liquid, they're skipping steps, their disinfection is not correct, and their whole thing of disinfectant is contaminated. That is against state rules and regulations, okay? Literally against the law. All right, so let me get this extra junk out of the way. I'm gonna go ahead and move my bin in here. All right, so we've got that, and I'm just gonna add some dish soap into my water. This part, again, just sanitation. I'm gonna go ahead and give that a bit of a spin, and I'm going to put my brushes in here, bristles facing down, because of the product and things inside those brushes. I want to ensure that they are softening the product. Like, look at, I don't know if you can see immediately the junk coming out of this brush because it's been used with gels and things like that. Hold on, I'm gonna see if I can move you in a little closer. All right, do you see the product that's immediately being released from that brush? That's the type of stuff that hides inside of your bristles, okay? That's without any scrubbing, anything having to happen just yet. So I want to ensure that while I'm showing you this, you can kind of understand what all hides inside of your brushes. Like, look, yeah, that's been used for a considerable degree of gel. I'm going to say thank you to my oldest child for that. All right, so again, just going to continue this process just like this here, placing all of these brushes down. You'll also notice some of these brushes that look visibly clean, once you go ahead and get them inside of your mix, you'll start to notice that some of the colors on them change, and you can start seeing product buildup on the backs of the brushes as well. This one has on both sides, so I'm just gonna turn it to the side so we can get all of those bristles in there. Now, by the way, when I'm going through disinfecting all of that, you typically want to make sure it's completely submerged. Now, I realize some people are probably over here like, just buy a new brush. Not everyone has buy a new brush money, and there's nothing wrong with these brushes. They just need to be properly disinfected. Especially like in the industry that I'm in, you literally have to do this after every single client. I can tell you this thing here, there's probably more product in this one brush than there is in everything up in here. There. All right. I don't know if you can already see the color change on some of these, like this one. There's product all on the back side of this brush. Can you kind of see it? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and let these sit for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to start scrubbing these brushes. We're just gonna push down. If you need to wear gloves for this part because it grosses you out, wear gloves. If you don't, then don't. I'm not gonna go back and forth. Ew, you didn't have on gloves. These are my germs. So yeah, whatever makes you comfortable, it's your germs, it's your stuff. I really don't care, but I do want to make sure that I'm going through some of this with you. Okay, I'm gonna warn you now, it's gonna be a little gross, but I want you to see why it's so important to soak these babies and not just remove the visible hair. Okay, remember I told you there's probably more product in these brushes here than in everything else up in there. Look at all that gel and product buildup that was hiding inside of this brush that otherwise might have looked clean. All of that was hiding in there. Please make sure you're cleaning your brushes. Can you imagine people with scalp issues? There's literally dead scalp tissue and all that hiding inside of your brushes. Make sure that not only are you doing this at home, but that you see your salon professionals practicing sanitary practices. You should not be getting the same comb in your head that you saw in the client's head before you. You should not see them drop a comb on the ground and pick it up and continue using it. Like if they drop a comb, it needs to go in their dirty comb container. They need to grab a new comb from their sanitized comb container. There should not be hairs and all that in their sanitized comb container. So in case you're looking for a new fear to unlock, you're welcome. Go ahead and use that to clean some on the back of this brush. Loosen up some of that product. Okay, this one clearly was not used for gel, so that's a plus. But if you're using like waving wax, if you're using gels, grease, oils, all of that, just know, baby, your brushes have all sorts of stuff in them. Way more than you can see. Please clean and disinfect those brushes. Okay. You remember how I was warning you about these paddle brushes? Look at this. They hold on to moisture. And if they hold on to moisture, that means they can easily hold on to bacteria. You always want to make sure you're getting everything out of those that you can. Okay? So just, if you have a paddle brush with a soft back like that and a hole in there, which honestly, whether it has a hole or not, it's got a soft back, it holds water. Just be really careful and make sure you're properly disinfecting your brushes, getting them completely dry, because all of that matters. All of it does. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take these out. And then from there, we're going to have to change out our water before I can get into disinfecting. So now all of these have been scrubbed to remove the rest of the debris. Okay, you see everything that was hidden inside of those brushes. This is just with soap and water. This is not with any type of disinfectant. So right now I have sanitized. That means I have killed some of the bacteria, but those brushes are still loaded with bacteria. So we're gonna go ahead and go through our next step in disinfection to get the bacteria killed. All right, let's go ahead and... So I have dumped my water. I've got new water in here, just like you're seeing. I'm going to go ahead and put bleach in here. Now, this is hot water. Now, one thing I will say in terms of this whole process is that if you can't do bleach for whatever reason, use something that says specifically that it's a disinfectant and read the instructions on there. It will always tell you the amount of product to use for cleaning versus for disinfection. And those two are completely different things, okay? So in this instance, we are using it to disinfect a hard surface. Okay, so this one here is a concentrated bleach. The amount is going to be a little bit less. If you're using a standard bleach, usually it's going to be 3/4 of a cup of bleach to a gallon of water. In this instance, because it's concentrated, the directions tell me to use 1/3 of a cup of bleach to a gallon of water. So I'm going to go ahead and check my measuring cup here. And we're going to pour that right on in here. And then I'm going to add that into the mix. Now, naturally, we're working with a bleach in this instance, so I need to make sure I'm very careful because I do have on colors. That being said, I'm not going to be splashing around and all of that. Okay, then from there, the other important thing to note, a lot of times people, when they're trying to disinfect with bleach, feel like they can just put something in there and then boom, it's disinfected. There's a thing called contact time. The contact time for bleach to kill as much bacteria as it can is 10 minutes. That means your brushes need to sit in here for a minimum of 10 minutes. Does that make sense? Okay, don't say I didn't tell you, boo. So I'm gonna go ahead and toss my brushes in this mix and we are going to let those soak. So again, putting them in here face down, super important. I wanna make sure all those bristles especially are getting taken care of. This one we're gonna place in here sideways because it's got bristles on both sides. And I'm gonna let it sit in this mix for a full 10 minutes. What this is going to do is going to kill 99.9% of the bacteria that's there. Now let me go ahead while this is soaking. Hold on. Hey Google, set a timer for 10 minutes.
Okay, 10 minutes. Starting now.
While this is soaking, let's go ahead and talk about what the difference is. Like when you see products say they kill 99.9% of bacteria, all of that, a lot of people are like, well, just spray the Lysol on it again and boom, the other percentage is killed. That's not how it works. Disinfection is only able to kill 99.9% of the bacteria that's on your items because at any given time, that other percentage, that other 0.01% of the bacteria is in spore forming phase. I want you to think of that like a hard outer shell. So think like an M&M, how it's got like the milk chocolate in the middle and it's got that hard outer coating. The bacteria basically does that. And the only way you can kill the bacteria that are in spore forming phase is through sterilization. Now, none of these can be sterilized because all of these are flammable. Typically, if something is sterilized, it's going to be metal. So think like nail clippers, scalpels, things like that. I don't typically want to use water soaking methods for my metals. I typically want to use a heat method of sterilizing, so an autoclave, something like that. So I might clean it with some mild soap and water really quick, dry it off, use some alcohol instead of using a bleach soak, and then from there I would put it into an autoclave or a sterilizer. That typically is going to get hot enough, like hotter than you bake cookies, to go ahead and kill the bacteria inside or on those implements. But naturally, we can't do that with plastics. We can't do that with wood. I can't do that with natural bristles, things along that line. So the best we can get for the tools that we're using on our scalp or on our brushes, things like that, that are not solid metal items, is disinfection, which means yes, there is still going to be some measure of bacteria that's present on there. Most of those are going to be at spore forming phase. This is another reason why it's so important for you to be disinfecting your brushes often. Now, it's also important to note that if you have scalp issues, things like dandruff and seborrheic dermatitis especially, those are added to by a condition or a fungal infection on the scalp called malassezia. What that is basically a fungus that is continually growing. Everyone has it, but I want you to imagine if that's getting on your brushes and we're not regularly cleaning those, not only do you have oils and product debris and just scalp flakes, germs, all that in general on your brushes, but then that fungus and all that that's building on your scalp is also getting in your brushes. So you want to make sure we're regularly cleaning and disinfecting them, especially if you have scalp issues. If worse comes to worse, wash them with soap and water until you have the time to go ahead and go through the whole disinfection process. But preferably doing this once a week would be ideal. I realize not everyone has the time for that, but if you do have like a cleaning day, something like that, just add this as part of your cleaning routine and let them soak while you're going through the rest of your cleaning, okay? This is gonna be especially helpful for people with scalp issues, and I realize a lot of this is like, let it go to heal. If that's how you feel, that's fine. They're your brushes. It's your scalp. You can treat it however you like to. None of these are rules written in stone by me for you, but they are written in stone by the states for cosmetologists. And they should be doing this after every single use, okay? So typically at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day, your cosmetologist should be doing this in preparation of their day. Preferably at the end of the day, because then your brushes and things have time to dry overnight. All right, I'm gonna let these continue to soak, and then we'll be back once my 5-minute timer. We'll be back once my 10-minute timer is complete. All right, 10-minute timer's up. I just told Google to calm down. I'm gonna go ahead and take these and rinse them. And then from there, I'm going to put them in a towel to dry. Of course, I'm going to dump the water, but yes. And then we'll have final closing thoughts. Love you, boo. All right, so I went ahead and rinsed all of the bleach and things off of my brushes. I'm going to go ahead and re-disinfect my surface here, which honestly, this is not a proper disinfection because again, in order for things to disinfect, you've got to make sure that there's contact time. And of course, contact time on everything is a little different. So with some stuff, the contact time is like 3 minutes. With other stuff, the contact time is like 10, okay? Nonetheless, I don't want to be leaving crusts and stuff down and then trying to go ahead and put towels down to dry my combs and stuff. Does that make sense? And I realize that for some people, which let me tilt you down so you can see what's happening. For some people, this might feel like a lot. And all I have to say is, for the people that this feels like a lot for, baby, you're not ready to talk about them makeup brushes and makeup sponges. That's all I'm gonna say about that. A whole nother video, boo. You don't have to beat your stuff like this. I usually do just because I feel like it gets extra moisture and things out. What I'm currently doing is squeezing the extra moisture out of my paddle brush here into the bin. So what you're not seeing off screen is this here. Okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead, let's see, wipe that side. Take that there. This one, too easy. No place for it to harbor bacteria. Absolutely love these, which by the way, Dollar Tree has a Dollar Tree version of this brush. So similar. Honestly, like instead of spending $18, you can spend $1.25. If you've learned something from this, or if you have requests of other videos and things that you would like to see or information that you would like to learn, please let me know. I am more than happy to make videos so long as it's not you asking me to teach you how to butcher your own hair, which means I will not be teaching you how to do chemical services on yourself. I just don't do that here. There are plenty of channels that will, but I am not them. And that's not going to happen over here. Now, if they deregulate my industry, then because they're trying in Texas, we can have that conversation at that time. So I want to make sure that people are as educated as possible, because it is so easy to spread disease and all that in this industry, and people don't realize like the top 3 places to get a staph infection are the salon, the gym, and the hospital. And so the sanitation requirements for each of those spaces and the disinfection requirements for each of those spaces is significantly higher. This is also why you see me constantly fussing about like people doing hair out of their house and all that, because it's more than skill. It's about proper education. It's about sanitation. It's about learning the correct way to do things in a way that protects your clients and protects the health of their hair and scalp. So yeah, all of that being said, I genuinely hope that this has been a helpful and educational video for you. I'm gonna let these dry some and then I'll put them back away. Thanks for watching. Take care, God bless, and stay glam. You know I love you, boo. Bye.